Okay, so I picked this Kawasaki Vulcan up behind me here, 1500 at the right price. It's not a new bike, it's pretty old. It kind of looks like somebody had started doing some work on it. It's had a new paint job. I've driven it maybe 100 miles to get it home. I have a box full of re-chrome parts because they didn't like the chrome, so they've had it all re-chromed. So I've got a box full of new parts to put on it. But as it stands, it's not my cup of tea. So straight away, I'm a solo rider, so the back seat needs to go and the rack on the back. Mechanically, I'm not 100% sure about it. A lot of the dull elements of aluminium are pretty flat. The thing has only got 19,000 kilometers on it, and it's a 20-year-old bike. I'm going to debadge it, do some bits and pieces, and we'll get it to how I want it. Like I say, I'm a solo rider, and every time I get on this bike I hit my leg on the back there, probably because I'm fat and overweight, but I want this to go and I want this to go, so my starting point is I'm going to take these off. Cut my finger opening the garage doors. It's bleeding. I'm going to turn you off. Okay, back seat off. Need a rack for that. Backrest and sissy bar. Don't want that. That can go. Find something that fits that. Now I should have a chrome infill for here, and I've got a box full of bits, so I'm going to have to look to see if I have that piece of chrome that's supposed to go on there. I tend to keep stuff that I take off bikes, and when I want to sell the bike down the line, then I sell everything with the bike. Okay, well, I don't really think that you need to watch me do this. I'll carry on doing this. But I figured out that, number one, this is the wrong bolt to go through here. It is completely different to the one on this side. And the bolts that came out of the backrest are not long enough to go through the chrome moulding and refit to the fender. So for now, I'm just going to have to leave those off. The next thing that's really annoying me is whoever put these badges on here didn't stick them on properly. So, you know, I'm just gonna catch those and they're gonna get ripped off. So I'm gonna get the heat gun out and just get some fishing line, warm those up, and I'm gonna pull those off.
So let's look at this back end. Obviously I've taken the rear seat off. Because, as I already said, I'm a solo rider and I don't want that on there, and I don't like the look. In the box of bits that I found, it had the rear fender section, rear bumper I guess you'd call it. I had the chrome covers for this, but I didn't have the bolts for it. I've now picked up the bolts, so obviously I've attached this new chrome cover, and I fitted the rear bumper that I found in the box of parts. Obviously taking the seat off leaves you with 4 holes on the top here. Let's have a closer look at that. So here we have our 4 holes. Excuse my washers. Now if I leave the fender like this, then obviously I have to live with those 4 holes, or I can put the bolts back in the 4 holes. Or I could put the seat fittings back on and have the seat fittings on the bike with the pieces of metal there. So I felt I had to come up with solutions. In my box of parts I have a radiator cover. So I've decided to modify the radiator cover, and literally this is taking me 4 holes. So I've had to drill 2 holes here, 2 holes on the end. I'm going to use one existing seat bracket, and I've basically made up an L-shaped bracket to go on the front, just slightly over a right angle, using the existing fittings to hold this on. So what we're going to do now is we're going to fit this cover on. So I'm going to use, these are rubber washers. They're actually tap washers. I'm just going to use these to fit on the paintwork. There wasn't anything on there before, but I just feel it needs a bit of protection. I've pre-fitted my fittings to the bottom of this. I've sprayed the underside with bed liner, and then we're just going to bolt this down, hopefully using the original fitting nuts that came off of it. It will be a bit fiddly. I'm sure you don't want to watch me do this, but I may switch you off actually, because you don't want to watch this boring stuff. My options were obviously buy a Kawasaki solo seat rack, but there don't seem many of those around. I could have put a leather bib down the back of the fender. As my tank has this piece of chrome down it, I kind of thought, well, why not continue the chrome all the way down the bike. I quite like the width of it, to be honest. Yes, it's a radiator grille. The danger with these bikes, these big bikes, because they have big fat tanks on them, when you take the back seat off and you don't have panniers, the back end can look quite skinny. So I kind of think that that rack, I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. I don't carry stuff on the back, it is purely for looks. So there you go. You use a radiator grille as a rear rack, and all I've had to do is drill the 4 holes here and make up 2 L-shaped brackets. That's more or less it. I had to find a couple of longer bolts to fit the front brackets to. Hope you like that bit. Next is the oil service, but I won't film that because you guys have all seen an oil service before. Well, that's it for this video. Nothing left to do with this bike, so take the work gloves off and ride it. See you next time.